All right, everybody, welcome in to our Wednesday webinar. I know we had a last-minute webinar last Friday. If you guys were in there, appreciate you guys showing up. Today, we have a really, really special guest. It'll be me and Femi. I'm not going to try to say his last name because I didn't ask him. Yeah, me and Femi. I'll get Femi up here in a minute. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for being in here today. Nick, welcome. Jaden, welcome. Happy to have everybody here. I'm going to get Femi up. Femi is a experienced land investor. He can provide so much value. He's been doing this a long time. So asking questions to him, if you have questions for him directly, his business, we'll start talking. We'll go and stuff. Welcome though, Femi.
Happy to be here, Ron. Happy to be here.
How do you say the last name?
Ajosé.
Ajosé. I didn't want to say the wrong thing. Yeah, appreciate you being on here. I'm pumped to have this. This is going to be really excited. Pete, what's up? CRO, Jaden, Nick. I need a question of the day, Femi. What do we want to hear from them? Let me think real fast. Question of the day. I'm going to say if you haven't started land flipping, what is holding you back?
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
If you have started, what is keeping you from scaling?
Good one.
Long one, but I like it. So kind of two questions. If you haven't started land flipping, guys, and also put where you're from as well. When you guys are answering this question, put where you're from. Love to see the how experienced you guys are. If you haven't started land flipping, what's holding you back? If you have started, what is keeping you from scaling? And whether you're doing $1,000 a month, Femi, or $1 million a month, like there's always a next level. So something is holding you back from doing 10 million. Maybe it's just you don't want to. So a lot of people get to a spot. I'm sure you talk to a lot of people. It's like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I think there's a point at which you start to get comfortable, especially when you get to a certain level. You've done a certain amount of deals, right? To where you're like, I don't really need to scale. And then especially like when you start, or when you start to watch a lot of the content, there's always this block in you that like kind of stops you from, just starting. When people be like, someone just said knowledge, right? Well, it can't be knowledge because there's a multitude of people that you can learn from, right? I think it is taking the action and taking the risk and just saying, hey, look, this is something that I'm going to commit to doing, and just being dedicated to it until you see the results that you want to see. So it's very important.
Yeah, like knowledge, and I'm not trying to. I appreciate everybody answering, but I like it in my 2 cents as far as when we hear or see answers, and like there's so much free knowledge out there. Obviously, you can always pay for knowledge, but the problem is with paying for knowledge is you also don't know what you're getting all the time. That's holding some people up. It's like there's so many people out there. There's me, there's Femi, there's blah blah blah. So many different people where you can be getting knowledge from. It's like I don't know. I don't know if it's something you've heard, but if there's like a hesitancy and like there's so much knowledge, it's almost like where do I consume it from?
Right. I think you just start with one person. Start with
Yep.
someone that resonates with you most and learn. And I think also make sure that whoever you're learning from or whatever program you're learning from is tried and proven and have actually done it. There's a lot of newer things out there that are, not as well versed, right? Or they have one strategy, or they don't know how to, like, what happens when you step on a landmine? How do you handle the situation then? Because the transparency also is not 100%. This business can be very hard, right? So if you don't have someone that's gone through the trials and tribulations of running the business successfully, then when things get hard for you, it's going to be difficult to continue on and be successful. So
I think a lot of people take that like first step, like it becomes easier. Like a lot of people who haven't invested in education or invested whatever. A lot of people pay $30,000 a year for college, but they won't pay $1,000 for a course.
Right.
But it just it's very common. Like you just hear like, all right, you hear people like hesitant and like, all right, how much debt are you in college? Right? I'm in $70,000 of debt. That being said, I think it's like once people get started, then they're like see the opportunity, everything like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a combination. Like I'm not like, again, like there's so much knowledge out there, guys. I'm not saying it can't be money. Obviously, you need some funds up to start, but if you pick up the phone and dial, Femi, it's not an expensive thing.
I was just about to say that. Like, if you guys you have a lack of capital, then it's about your grit. It's about your determination, your dedication. If I didn't have any money at all, what I would do, go to Zillow, go look at really old listings. We were talking about this on our podcast a couple weeks ago. And call the old listings, call the people that have been on market for 350 plus days, and just call all day, make deals happen. if you don't have any money, you have to have something else to meet. So your grit, your hard work, your determination has to be that in order to get to the point where you do have money to build a business correctly. So
Hmm. I'm putting, you got me thinking now, or maybe the community's got me thinking as well, because I'm putting together a YouTube video right now for like starting a flipping business from scratch in 30 days. And it'll be me doing it. I'm not going to use anything outside. But I think having a capital restriction on there make it more difficult for me, I think.
yeah,
But having a capital restriction on there would be kind of interesting where I know if I do this business for an hour a day for 30 days with 100 total dollars, I'll be able to get a deal.
absolutely.
100%. Whether I wholesale it or assign it to someone like Femi who's got the capital to buy the deal, or I buy it with a funding partner, like I'll get a deal in a month. And I think that journey, like it just will open up people's minds, I think, for what's
Great.
possible.
That's one thing I always say. I mean, it's the skills. You guys should be looking to acquire as many, highly profitable skills as possible. So marketing yourself, presenting yourself well, talking to people very well. If you strip me away from any capital that I have, anything like that, and I still have my knowledge and my skills, I'd be able to scale the business to where it is now within a few months, without a doubt. And so it's really the skills that stick. It's not about the money. It's not about all the fancy tools that come out. It's not about any of that. Now, those things are guides, they help, but what you really have is your knowledge and skill.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you have that, you're going to continue to be successful.
100%. It's the journey I've seen people take from like 3 years ago to like it's crazy, or even like 6 months ago. Like you see people who are like had these same reservations, 6 months ago, and now they're like not an expert land investor, but it's like holy crap, they're making $30,000 every month.
Right.
And seeing those journeys of people like just taking that first step, I think is really big, guys. As you are coming in here again, appreciate everybody being in here today. Femi is a wealth of knowledge. I would watch that show. Yeah, well, I'm gonna make that happen, Devin. You'll see. Put in the chat. Also, I want to know your guys' experience. I'm gonna hide this question. Put in the chat your experience in this business, whether this is the first time you've watched us, whether you're Devin McCongle and have watched me way too many damn times. Mike and Kathy, I don't know. I mean, you guys have been funding our deals, I feel like, for 5 years. But no matter what, let me know your guys' experience level in the chat. Put questions in too for Femi. Put questions in here for Femi, myself, and we will get to them for sure. In this 30 minutes, guys, we want to provide as much value as possible to you guys. Whether if you guys are first getting started, like there's no reason we can't help you today.
Absolutely.
I always like to see the experience level, Femi, because a lot of times it's like first time. My gosh, a lot of new people and first time watching. There we go. Timothy Dewey. And that's going to be high volume. I'm going to save these questions here, guys, and put them, and then we will get to these kind of in a little more in bulk. Mark Hudson, 3 months. Awesome. Happy to have you still here. That's awesome. For the first time I spoke with you. Ready to sell. 1 year down wholesaling, Cleophas. Awesome. How to choose a market. Get to that.
That's a great question.
Femi is a new dad. I guess it's public now. New dad. So congrats, Femi, on that. It's exciting. I know you coming back to that. I know you had to move things around last week, and glad we could get Nick on. We had Nick on last week. Nicholas Nick, if you saw that.
I checked out a little bit of it actually. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a beast. He's awesome. He's intense with it. I love it. He's built a really solid company.
I have to reach out.
One thing I like about Nick is he's very and we said this last week, he's very hands-on with it. Like he's got hundreds of customers, but it doesn't feel like that. If you're one of his customers, he makes you feel like you're the only one. Like if you have an issue, definitely he gets to them. Aaron Jerez, a little over a year. Nick, almost a year. Nick's done. Nick, how many deals? I just had you on the podcast. That's not out yet, I don't think. Nick's doing home mailers. He's got a printing press pretty much in his basement. Nice. He's been down that rabbit hole quite a bit. How's rental property? Have rental property, but want land. Joe has been in Ron's DMs.
That's a good question.
Joe,
that's a very good question.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying they're asking good questions. Should I answer them or?
Yeah, we'll get these out. Let me pin some of these. I'm gonna get them up. I'm gonna. Hopefully my mouse doesn't die here. It feels like it is. Is SMS blast worth it? I've been having better luck with calls than SMS. What are your thoughts on the different marketing, Femi?
I think you need to master one and then you start to branch out to others. So, I mean, for years I was only mailing and I mastered mail. And not only did I master mail, but I start thinking about, okay, well, who are we buying from on average, and what percentage are we buying from them? How do I talk to them even more, right? And when you start thinking about it that way, I mean, most people don't think about it like that. Now, as far as SMS blasts being worth it, I currently send out around 100,000 text messages per month, and we get deals pretty consistently. So it's definitely worth it. I mean, it's just about it's a grind. You know, you have to have the right processes in place in order to consistently get deals from SMS. For sure, like you have to be able to follow up. The leads are not going to be as warm, right? But you do need to, again, grit, determination, and set the right processes. Follow up consistently, and I think all these channels are worth it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's you got to figure out the best way to contact and get leads to reach back out to you. And some people, it's mail. It's a little more costly per lead for sure. But
Yeah.
like mail works really, really well. Texting, there's people like it's hard for us to say which one works, which one doesn't work because there's people making 6, 7 figures per month on
Yeah.
every single thing. I have people who have talked to PPC who they're doing all PPC entitlement stuff, and that's their business model. So it's just there's such a wide variety. It's definitely worth it if you know how to do it. I guess
One
that's
hundred percent. Yeah, mastering one is so important though. So
yeah, for
I
sure.
don't just
Yeah,
jump
people
around.
jump around and they're like, "This doesn't work. This doesn't work." No, whatever you're doing ain't working. You know what I mean? Like, there's a
Exactly.
big difference there. Like the marketing method isn't working, or something you're doing isn't working. Typically, it's what
Exactly.
almost always is what
Usually the process as opposed to the what you're doing.
for
That's
sure.
the text or the
Really,
mail.
short question here, Mark. And we've done so many videos on choosing a market. What we do is we choose markets 2 to 3 counties removed from main metro areas. This is for people who are first starting also. Like you go into metro areas, you go into Cincinnati, Atlanta, Charlotte. I said Cincinnati because that's where I live. But that being said, you go into main metro areas, this business is tough, like a lot more competitive, less acreages. But that being said, we like to go 2 to 3 counties removed from main metro areas. There's other things we look into it. We have a lot of videos on that. Are you similar, Femi, with that?
Yeah, I'm always assessing demand, and also depending on what's going on really with the world. I'm assessing demand. I'm assessing how fast properties are selling in different markets. I mean, you and I are a bit more experienced, right? And so we have a lot of data points, so it's easy for us to know, okay, this is where we need to go. But usually, if I'm picking a brand new market, what I'm going to do is assess demand. Like that's where you start, because if there's demand, I'm going to be there to supply it.
That's a good point. Yeah, demand's a huge thing, and I don't remember Dan and I were talking about it recently. Maybe when we were doing like we're choosing like the best states to do this business. We did a YouTube video a little bit ago. Yeah, demand's a huge thing. Like you don't want to get land in areas where it takes an army to sell land. You know what I mean? So that's definitely a big thing.
Yeah,
It's not
let's make
fun.
it as easy as possible, and
I
especially
think
like, go ahead.
I think people view land selling or like the number of sold comps as land sells or doesn't sell. There are so many counties in this country where there's just nothing for sale. So there's no sold, like there's such little sold data. Those are
Yeah.
the gold mine counties, in my opinion, are that counties where secretly, like there's not a lot of land sold, but when something does go for sale, it sells in like the snap of a finger.
That's what I was gonna say. I look for proof of concept as well. So if I go into a market and I see, especially a really good indicator of a really good market is if you go into a market and there's like a multi six-figure sale within 90 days. Like it's sold within 90 days. Let's say a $300,000 property within 90 days. And there's a couple of those, you
Mm,
want to be in a market like that.
that's awesome. Um, Make sure I save all these. Would love to hear lessons from deals gone bad. I don't think Femi has any deals gone bad. All of them go perfectly, right?
No, I had one go bad my whole career. I had one go bad, but we ended up breaking even on it. Uh, it was a parcel in a residential neighborhood. All of the houses in the area were selling for millions and millions of dollars, right? So I'm thinking like this is a steal. I think I got it for like 45K. And I was like, no way. Like this is, and then the broker ended up going, this is very early in my career. Broker ended up going out to it, and there was like a runoff. Like it was a deep slope. Didn't find it on the. This is what taught me to make sure the broker walks it before we buy it. Always, don't let
Mm,
the broker see it. Make sure they walk it. Uh, Big slope all the way down. I ended up selling it for about like 46, 47K. So like broke just even. Um, Got lucky with that one. But yeah, lesson learned. Make sure that a broker always walks the property. Make sure that you get photos, you get things prepared before. Uh, don't don't like count your phantom profits and then be so like, oh, I'm gonna make 50 grand, I'm gonna make 100 grand. So excited about that that you don't, do some very strict due diligence.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll say is make sure you always try to kill a deal. That's one thing I do. Any deal that comes across my desk now, I always try to kill it. What are 3 things that I can do to like literally kill this deal to where it won't work? If I can't
Mhm.
find anything, that's how I know I'm going to do that deal.
That makes sense. Yeah, we've had a few we've had properties with failed perk test after the fact of us buying.
Yeah.
We've had properties we bought a landfill by accident. Uh, we made 20 grand on that. So you say what you want. But
Right.
it was a headache to sell. We had one that like comes to mind where it was a disappointing one. It like we got title insurance saying like legal access, everything like that. It was off the road with an easement. End buyer wanted a survey. The access was written on the deed. Essentially, it was in Mississippi, and they got the survey. They're like, this is broken. Like as far as where the legal access was broken, we bought it for 30. I think we're under contract for 75. No access. So we had to basically they backed out and we had to sell it without access. We could not get access, and I think we sold it for like 30. We made 5 or 6 grand or something. But yeah, just the difference of like being under contract for 75 legal, it literally like stopped at the corner of our property. It was just written wrong. There was intent to give access, but the people that gave access were dead or something. And it was Mississippi and deeds are all broken there. Yeah, that was probably the one that sticks out the most. A lot of questions here, guys. Really good questions. Have rental property, but want land. Marcellus. And I think a lot of people who are like in here first time, Femi, like think like we're just buying land and holding, like we are making money in land. Just like you go to a job every day and make money, whatever you're doing in sales and whatever. Like this is an income stream. This is not holding land. This is not farmland, like passive income in terms of this. This is like turning into your job in 6 months, 12 months. I don't know what stories you've seen, Femi, but that's what's realistic in this business.
Yeah, I've seen some crazy stories and I've had some crazy stories in my own community of people that are building. One thing I say about the rental property and wanting land, if you took, I don't know what you invested into your rental property, but let's just say it was 50K. If you took $50,000 and invested $50,000 into building a land flipping business, the year-over-year return that you get on that would be, I mean, ridiculous compared to what your rentals is returning. So,
Yep.
and then you can go make a lot more money than that. So
100%. Yeah. Rental properties have their like tax breaks, everything like that. But like overall, like if you're trying to build, it matters what your goals are. Like if you have no interest in doing anything day to day, go buy a rental property. If you want to make like but they're the downside is you're not going to make a lot of money cash wise. Yeah. Femi, what are you doing differently than you were 3 years ago? Really good question.
I'm always just looking at the things that, I want to optimize. So like, what are some mistakes that I'm making? I think one thing that I've really changed over the last, I'd say 2 years is like I was talking about before, specific targeting towards sellers that we've already been successful with, right? So how do I continue to speak to that seller and just improving our systems, improving our processes? Once you master the flow of the business, the market selection, the marketing, the acquisitions, the dispositions, once you master that, you build processes around it. And my goal is just to continue to improve on those processes and make sure everything is just running like a well-oiled machine. So
I love that. Yeah, it's growing for sure, making adjustments as needed. Femi's a big on systems for sure. So yeah, that's huge on that, and it makes your business run so much smoother. Someone else asked, I want to get to that because it kind of goes on that. What's the structure of your team? What does your team look like?
Yeah, so we got 3 people on my team currently. So acquisitions manager, transaction coordinator, and dispo manager. Acquisitions manager, it's kind of self-explanatory. They negotiate deals, get things under contract. Transaction coordinator, they handle title, things like that, emails. Dispo manager, just make sure that we're connecting with brokers consistently. And then if we need a price drop on the market or anything like that, that's what they still do. So yeah.
Is that, are they overseas? Are they here or a combination?
Overseas. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, you can build a big team overseas. When you're talking to someone, like if you're talking, let's say whoever the $50,000 situation, like someone has 50 grand to put in this business, how early are you suggesting, Femi, like you should go hire someone? Is it the first 3 months? Like you got to learn the business first yourself. What does that look like?
What I like for people to do is to master every single function of the business first, right? Because if you haven't done it, it's going to be hard for you to teach it. right? Especially
Right.
if you're going to teach it to an employee that has no idea what they're doing. And if you can find an A player, they're going to commit. But you have to know, like, hey, if this goes wrong, this is what you do, right? And that's really what I think about. Like, okay, hell or high water, if this thing goes wrong, how do we handle this problem? Because that's all this is, solving problems. And so if we are able to, yeah, continuously solve our problems, then and we've done that already, then yeah, that's when you can hire. But I want people to have processes, having deals already done before it's time to hire. And I think people are too quick to hire,
Yep.
right? Take your time, learn the business, do some deals. I said make a couple hundred grand, and then once you do that, then start hiring
Hmm.
because it can also take some time to get your team ramped up to the point where they're firing on all cylinders.
Yep. That's a good point. Are you doing a lot of double closing? What is your traditional buy sell? What does that look like?
I'd say right now, it varies based upon the time that we're in and the deals that we're getting. Right now, it was about 80% buying and reselling. I have had periods of time where I was just double closing too. So it really depends on the market trends, what's happening, cash, like all that stuff.
Sellers, like if you can, if sellers are being tight, like sellers want, like double closing works great for sellers who are just pushing you on your price and it doesn't make sense for buying and reselling. And that's what we tell a lot of people. Like there's sellers that you need to buy and resell, then there's sellers where you need to push more double closing just because the margin doesn't make sense for getting funding for money, whatever it looks like. So I don't know if that is that something you kind of teach, do yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it really, like I said, it's just situation by situation. Like if I feel like we can double close on a deal, then we're gonna do it because it's there's no capital out of my pocket. If there's a deal that I really don't want to lose, then I'm gonna buy it, right?
Mm, that's a good way
It
to look at
really,
it.
yeah, it depends on like the situation, like situation with the seller, what the market's saying, how quickly it can move. But I say for the most part, right now, it's buying and reselling.
Got it. Joe, you said you've been in my DMs for 2 years. Am I responding to you, Joe? Make sure I'm responding. If I'm not responding, another message. I'll make sure. Sometimes I don't get notifications. No, you probably get blown up on places, and then like I feel bad. Like it's not never intentional as far as not responding to people. Sometimes I say something and it's like shit, I forgot something, but it happens, I guess. All right, what we got here on SMS or cold call? Do you throw them a blind offer on the initial contact?
What do you do?
I don't. I have. So what we're doing now with like how we teach VAs and stuff like that now with the Land Portal's comp report, like that is their basis. I like getting on the phone with cold calls. You want to give them a number. You never know when you're going to get back on the phone with them. So if
Yeah,
you're cold calling, like why not? Or why can't you do everything there? They answered the phone. Like let's have a conversation. If you need to set up another time, set up another time. What I don't like with cold calling, if you're cold calling yourself, especially. What I don't like with cold calling is when people like just have like there's just no next step essentially. Like it's all right.
yeah,
Let's follow back up. Like if you're cold calling and you need to come up with an offer or something, you need to have a set day and time that you are going to call that person back. You're going to get a high 80% higher answer rate.
agreed. I think it's best to warm them up, especially when it's cold like that. Having some kind of range that gets them interested and gets them wanting to talk to you in the first place is important because I mean if you just say, oh hey, let's schedule an appointment, get on the phone, you're going to waste your time talking to a lot of people that might want 5 million bucks for their property. You're wasting your time. So it's best to get a range or throw out something that makes sense, right? 50-60% that makes sense. You can actually have a conversation and then go from there.
Yep. That's a good point. Oh, I go to that later. How much time do you put in this business right now? I mean, some people, I know you have a combination, you have multiple businesses, but how much time are you putting into like your land business
The land business 2 to 3 hours a week.
per week?
Yeah.
At systems, is that employees, a combination of both?
Both, combination of both for sure.
Is that just reviewing deals? What does that look like for you?
That's it. Reviewing deals, signing HUDs, being on meetings. That's it. A
Love it.
couple meetings a week, Slack check-ins, stuff like that. But
That's
yeah, no,
awesome.
it's very hands off now.
That's not from the start, guys. Don't come into this business and try to do 2 hours. Like you got to grind it first.
Yeah, I mean, you remember me on all these like chats and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
put a lot of work into this to get here.
Mhm.
So it's not like this happened overnight. Like I used to wake up 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning and be like cold calling, talking to sellers like all day until like 7, 8 p.m. So if you're not willing to do that, you can't be willing to like only put a couple hours a week into the business. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want people thinking that this is some kind of like passive income thing where you can just like, oh yeah, just kick my feet up and just send some mail and kick my feet up. No, it takes a sheer amount of like grit, determination, and just dedicating yourself to doing this. And you do that, then you're going to be successful. So
Yeah, a lot of I don't really there might be some people will portray it as an hour, 2 hours a week. It's just not realistic when you're first
no, it's
starting, obviously. Like you gotta wanna get into this business and there's so much upside. There's no point in putting time into any other side, in my opinion. And obviously we're biased, but any other side hustle, there's no point in putting time into it. Work a 9 to 5 job, do this for 2 hours before work, do it for an hour after work, figure it out. But that's where the upside is.
how much do you
Um,
spend on the business? I'm curious.
Me in the land business.
Yeah.
Not much.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few hours a week. Like
Yeah.
you put the right people around you, have the right and also I think what we're not talking about is like the value of how much experience and knowledge, like us saying no to a deal might take someone who just started an hour, 2 hours, where it takes us 2 minutes.
Yep.
It's a big, big difference. That's one of the bigger things when you're first starting. It's like, how do you actually review deals? It takes time.
Repetition.
Um,
Yep.
what does day one look like wholesaling land from scratch? That's a good question. I think probably, I mean, obviously there's education, everything like that, but choosing a marketing strategy is kind of my, like, I think at minimum at the end of day one, like, what marketing avenue are you going to go? Maybe that's too soon. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's just educating yourself. Learn and then get as many repetitions as possible. Like we are just saying how the more repetitions you get, like it only takes us 2 minutes to look at a property and approve or deny it. But that's because uh, we've looked at thousands and thousands of properties, right?
Mhm.
So, that's what you get.
Do you ever look at house comps when looking at new markets?
No.
Yeah, I don't really either. Sometimes, I mean, sometimes I look at houses nearby. I'm like, cool, that's a nice house. That's cool.
Right.
But never like, and I get curious sometimes, but it's never like, it doesn't drive my decisions. I don't care
Not
if
at all.
trash is on the next door lot. Some people get so caught up in like areas. If people are buying 1 acre, like, yeah, you want to worry about the area more. And like, but if people are buying 10, 15 acres, they don't want to see their neighbors ever. They don't like, that's a lot of land. I don't think people realize how much land 10 acres is when you're buying it. Like whatever's on the neighbor's property, they won't, unless it's chicken coops or some shit like that. That's a little different. But if it's like, I don't know, I'm not big into all that. Like if your land's listed for this also, what factors, we have a few more minutes. We'll go a little past. What factors do you consider between listing a property? Do you do most with your broker, with a broker? You talked about broker earlier. You list yourself.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
All brokers. All brokers. I don't think I maybe listed like 2 or 3 properties by myself. But you want to use local experts, land
Yeah.
specific brokers. Those are the best.
How often do you get burned by a broker? Just like they don't like follow, not burned, just like they don't follow through or they don't do as good of a job as you think.
It's I can count it on my hand the amount of times
Yeah.
it happened. Not very many times. You have to be able to vet people. It's very easy to vet them. You just look at the soul comps they have. You have a good conversation with them. If you guys vibe and gel well, then you go with them. And don't be afraid to fire a broker either.
Yep. That's a good point.
Yeah.
One thing I tell people when they're like choosing brokers is if they're not answering your phone, if they're not responsive to you, they're certainly not responding to buyers. And like that's one of the biggest things. Like they take 3 days to respond. Like hell no. If they take 3 days to respond to you, they are not going to be responding to buyers. Like it needs to be a same day response. When you're calling 10 brokers to vet them, then one of them calls you back 3 days later. They sound really good on the phone. Like no, to cross that person off your list if they don't call you back the same day, in my opinion.
In fact, if they don't answer like when you call, I would already be putting them to the bottom of your list.
Mm,
Because a broker should be someone that's like if you're really selling property like
a
that, you need to
shitty
be on
job.
your phone all day, right? If I'm a land broker, my phone is going to be on all day because I want to make sure that I'm not missing a lead or something, right? So if they don't do that, then I'd stay away.
That's a good point. Yeah, like their responsiveness is not like it's hard to fake it in terms of that. Like they just won't answer their phone. I want to ask you a few questions, Femi. What one like as far as like the Landport, and I'll pull it up as far as the comp report stuff. I know you've been playing around with a little bit. How are you going to implement that in your business, if at all, at this moment?
So I'm going through some seasons right now in my land business as the next few months go on, where I do want to just get in and do some really, really big deals, right? I love to do these larger deals where we take something for 3 and sell it for 6 and so on and so forth. So really like dialing in on the markets where properties are moving at six, seven, $800,000, right? And within less than 100 days. Those are things that I'm really focused on for these next few months, and that's how I've been using it. Looking at comp reports, seeing how fast things are selling, looking at road frontage, what are the trends that we're seeing. Like that's how I'm using it. Yeah.
Yeah, so we added this last week, guys, and there's a video that came out on the comp reports earlier today. Have you tested against it, Femi? Because you're obviously an experienced land investor, and I like getting people's insight, like as far as like the accuracy. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I actually was looking at it. I've tested it a few times, but I was looking at it this morning before we got on here. It's very accurate, but one thing I would say, guys, is like use these things as a guide, right?
100%.
Don't use this as your Bible, right? It's a guide, and you still need to have the basic skills of understanding how to find comparables and evaluate properties and underwrite properties correctly from your own mind. And this is supposed to be a tool to help. It's not supposed to replace your
What
brain.
Devin, Nick, other experienced people that are in the chat, like what are your guys' thoughts on the accuracy as far as that? And I'll show you guys in a second. Let me pull up one. We'll get a random property. So we've been talking a lot, guys, about like reviewing properties. How do you analyze properties? And like I said, this is something we added last week. We can do something that's 50 acres. It's probably not going to be the best for that. But let's just find a 6-acre property. Let's go right here. 6-acre. This isn't going to work with MLS details. So it's got MLS data on it. Well, let's find a random property here. We'll find something just to show you guys a quick comp report. Again, I did a more detailed video on this. I think it came out today, actually. I know it came out today. Are your VAs using something this? Like, is that part of their business or not business? Is that part of their strategy now?
I'm still doing market selection, so
Yeah.
it's really just me doing this right now. Yeah.
There's so many MLS comps in here.
But
All
this
right,
makes
cool.
it so much easier. Like I remember when, starting out, you couldn't do a lot of this stuff. And there were some things that were around, but they weren't very accurate. Right. So when it comes to accuracy and using something as a guide, this thing is, I mean, the comp
The
reporting tool.
accuracy is so important because people will this isn't it. It didn't come up yet, but we'll wait on that. But yeah, what you can do essentially, guys, and we won't be, I can pull one up that I've done in the past. But what you'll be able to do essentially is get immediate, what we call a TLP estimate. This is basically what our comps are showing and what our algorithm is predicting the price to be. You're going to see comps on here, which is all got linked data as well. But like I said, I just made a YouTube video on this. It's a decently long YouTube video that was posted earlier today. If you guys want to see anything more with that, let me see if there's any last questions, Femi, as we get on here. I really appreciate it's crazy how long, when you like look back at it, like it's crazy how long we've been messaging each other in terms of like, it's been 5+ years. I didn't even realize till I was looking back on it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. And never really done anything face to face, but no, I'm excited for this. I'm excited for a partnership. I think it's gonna be really cool.
No, absolutely. It's crazy how fast time flies. Like from starting to like being here now and being able to help other people. It's like happened over. It feels like it happened overnight, but I know that it didn't. So
There's a lot of people in this business, like especially as like I think you have people realizing like the money in land, and then there's people that like, and it sucks because like you have voices around that, and it happens, I guess, but people who are trying to teach something that they've never done. So I know you see that, I'm sure. And it's every industry, guys. Like it's not like you have basketball coaches who've never played a basketball. Everything wholesalers who've never wholesaled anything, and there's obviously a lot of different voices in this. But getting the education, like you said, a lot of people in here, education is a barrier to getting started. Take all the free education you got. Femi's channel. Let me link Femi's channel real fast. What is it, Femi? I know it's your full name, right?
yeah, it's just Olufemi Ajosé.
What I'll do, I'll just put it in the description once we get off of here. Cool. Femi's big on Instagram, everything like that, guys. Is there anywhere else people can find you, Femi?
Yeah, no, Instagram, YouTube, and yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on. We'll definitely do this again. Femi will be on a podcast where you can get his story in more detail. But yeah, appreciate him answering all the questions. Thank you guys for being here today. If you guys haven't hit the subscribe button already, please do that. Like I said, we went over a very detailed comp report video earlier today. But any last words, Femi?
No, it was great to be here. It was really fun. Looking forward to the next
we'll do it again sometime soon. Maybe Femi will be a regular guest on here. I appreciate Femi, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome, Ron. Talk to you soon.
All right, take care, everybody.